So speaking of consciousness, of all the things that could have shaped your moral consciousness as a child, it was an English poem by Robert Southey about war's futility. Young Peterkin finding a skull, asking his grandfather, but what came of it? And getting no real answer beyond, it was a great war. Why did that poem strike you so deeply? And how did that early sense of war's wastefulness connect to your spiritual development?
As I said, probably the seeds of cosmic awareness, consciousness were sown earlier. There are other poems on the same. This is a book of poems. There was a poem also by Lord Tennyson on charge of Light Brigade. With March 600, guns rolling and thundered, and the soldiers marched. But that didn't strike me as very appealing. But this one did. But futility of war, the soldiers and the prime of life, they die on the battlefield, grieving mothers and families. So it struck me as something very wasteful, which can be stopped. Nations spend enormous amount on weapons, they still do, on weaponry and in the name of nationalism, think they're protecting their borders. So it all seemed to be very wasteful to me because in my college days, I read a book by Benedict Anderson, which spoke about nation and nationhood as an imagined community, which has very diverse people based on color, religion, on creed, and all that. But somehow the wars, their sense of nationhood, so diverse people come together to fight wars. But it is, I agree with Anderson, that it is an imagined community. People fight over base of religion, their own color, as happens in America. A lot of color prejudice between blacks and whites. They have serious differences, but somehow they are expected to. Soldiers, of course, do their duty. But, for example, during the 1962 Indo-China War, my wife knitted sweaters for soldiers because they were the Indian soldiers fighting China in snowy mountains, and they were ill prepared. They didn't have proper shoes. They didn't have proper clothing. There was probably Gandhi's influence. He never thought such a war will ever occur. He was very friendly to China, but China attacked us. It was a big surprise. Sweaters were knitted. Contributions came pouring in from many people. People thought our nation, my nation, is under threat from the Chinese. So there was occasion. But it's not that differences were forgotten. Differences were there. They still persist. As creed and so on. So, the difference between Hindus and Muslims have been there for a long time. Muslim soldiers fought for India, sacrificed their lives. There was one soldier called Abdul, if I remember his name. He died fighting in the border. There were others. So the Indian army doesn't consider only Hindus. It has Muslims, it has other Christians, and so on. So, but anyway, though there's sense of nationhood, but still I thought wars were wasteful. This is again, God expects us to live as one family. Hinduism has that concept of Vasudeva Kutumbakam. Vasudeva Kutumbakam translated means one human family. One human family is expected to live and let live and not fight wars, kill each other.